The world does not warn you before it turns cold. One day, you feel supported. The next, you feel surrounded. Faces change, voices disappear, trust becomes distance. And suddenly, it feels like you are standing alone in a storm that you did not create. This is not the moment that defines your weakness. This is the moment that reveals your strength. Pressure does not destroy strong people. It exposes them. Resistance does not stop focused minds. It sharpens them. Opposition does not end a determined path. It clarifies it. When everyone stands against you, life stops being comfortable and starts becoming meaningful. Every distraction falls away. Every fake connection fades. Every illusion breaks. What remains is raw truth, pure purpose, and a choice that changes everything. This is where real power begins. Not in applause, not in approval, not in being liked, but in standing firm when there is no support, in staying calm when there is noise, in staying disciplined when there is chaos, in staying focused when there is pressure, in staying patient. This is not about fighting people. It is about mastering yourself. It is not about proving anything to the world. It is about building something inside that the world cannot touch, a mind that cannot be shaken, a will that cannot be bent, a direction that cannot be stolen. When everyone is against you, you are given a rare opportunity, the chance to become unstoppable without permission. The chance to grow without noise, the chance to rise without approval, the chance to win without validation. This is the path of quiet strength, controlled focus, strategic movement, inner discipline, long vision, deep patience, calm power. This is how you win when everyone is against you. There comes a moment in a person's life when the room goes quiet, not because there is peace, but because support has left. Faces that once smiled now look away. Voices that once praised now stay silent. The world begins to feel smaller, colder, and heavier. This is the moment when many people break, not because they are weak, but because they never learned how to stand alone without feeling abandoned. Isolation does not mean you are failing. It often means you are stepping into a higher level of growth that others cannot follow. When everyone turns against you, the pain feels personal, sharp, and close to the heart. It feels like rejection, like betrayal, like being pushed out of a place where you once belonged. That pain is real. It sits in the chest, it tightens the throat, it makes the nights longer and the mind louder. But that pain is not proof of weakness. It is proof that something inside you is changing, and change always creates distance before it creates strength. Being alone is not the same as being broken. Solitude can feel heavy, but it is also clean. There is no noise, no fake support, no hidden intentions. Just you and your thoughts, your fears, your goals, and your truth. This is where strength is built. Not in crowds, not in applause, not in approval. Strength is built in silence, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is helping. This is where character forms. This is where discipline grows. This is where self-respect becomes real. When you accept isolation without weakness, something powerful happens inside you. You stop chasing validation. You stop begging for understanding. You stop explaining yourself to people who already decided not to listen. You begin to stand still, calm, steady, and focused. Not angry, not bitter, not desperate, just grounded. There is a quiet confidence that grows when you stop needing permission to exist as you are. When people turn against you, the instinct is to defend yourself, to prove your worth, to argue your case, to explain your intentions. That instinct comes from fear, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone, fear of losing connection. But true strength does not chase approval. True power does not depend on being liked. Real stability comes when your identity is not built on other people's opinions. When isolation comes, it strips away the false versions of connection. It shows you who was there for comfort and who was there for convenience. That clarity is painful, but it is also freeing. You no longer waste energy on empty relationships. You no longer invest in people who only show up when it benefits them. You begin to protect your energy, your time, your focus. Accepting isolation without weakness means you stop seeing yourself as rejected and start seeing yourself as redirected. It means understanding that not everyone is meant to walk with you into your future. Some people are only meant to know the older version of you. Some people only understand who you were, not who you are becoming. That separation is not cruelty. It is alignment. Growth always creates distance from the familiar, and the familiar often fights back. People resist your change because it forces them to face their own limits. Your discipline reminds them of their excuses. Your focus reminds them of their distractions. Your silence reminds them of their noise. Your progress makes their comfort uncomfortable. So they push back, they judge, they doubt, they criticize, they isolate you, not because you are wrong, but because you are different. This is where weakness and strength look similar on the outside, but feel very different on the inside. Weakness feels like loneliness mixed with fear. Strength feels like solitude mixed with clarity. Weakness seeks comfort. Strength builds structure. Weakness asks for reassurance. Strength creates self-trust. When you accept isolation without weakness, you stop looking for someone to save you. You stop waiting for someone to believe in you. You stop hoping someone will come and fix the situation. You become the one who carries yourself forward. Not with anger, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with quiet control, with patience, with long-term thinking. With steady effort that does not need an audience. There is something deeply powerful about learning how to sit with yourself without escaping into noise. No distractions. No constant scrolling, no fake conversations, no empty entertainment. Just you, your goals, your plans, your fears, and your future. This builds mental strength. It teaches you how to regulate your emotions. It teaches you how to calm your mind. It teaches you how to make decisions without pressure. It teaches you how to move without needing approval. This kind of inner stability cannot be shaken by rejection, gossip, or opposition. When your foundation is internal, external chaos loses its power. Isolation also sharpens your vision. When the crowd disappears, clarity appears. You start seeing your life honestly. You see your habits, you see your weaknesses, you see your wasted time, you see your untapped potential. You see your patterns, you see where you were settling. You see where you were shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were too small for you. That awareness hurts at first. It creates discomfort, it creates regret, it creates sadness, but it also creates direction. Because now you know what must change, and change begins with honesty. Accepting isolation without weakness means you stop romanticizing struggle and start respecting discipline. You build routines. You build structure. You build consistency. You build habits that support your future instead of your comfort. You wake up with purpose, not pressure. You work with focus, not chaos. You rest with intention, not escape. You speak with clarity, not noise. You move with patience, not panic. You become predictable in effort and unpredictable in results. This is how strength forms quietly, without attention, without applause. There is a calm that comes when you no longer fear being alone. People lose their power over you. Rejection loses its control, criticism loses its sting, silence no longer feels like punishment, it feels like peace. When everyone is against you, their opinions can only hurt you if your identity depends on them. But when your identity is built on values, discipline, and self-respect, opposition becomes background noise. It exists, but it does not control you. It speaks, but it does not move you. It judges, but it does not define you. This is where real leadership begins. Not leading others, but leading yourself. Choosing discipline over comfort. Choosing patience over reaction. Choosing growth over approval. Choosing silence over noise. Choosing long-term vision over short-term emotion. You stop living for today's validation and start building for tomorrow's results. You stop reacting and start planning. You stop rushing and start building. You stop explaining and start executing. Isolation teaches you how to rely on your own strength, not ego, not pride, not arrogance, but grounded confidence, the kind that does not need attention, the kind that does not need praise, the kind that does not need applause, the kind that stays steady in pressure, the kind that remains calm in chaos, the kind that moves forward even when the path feels empty. When everyone is against you, you learn something valuable. You learn who you are when no one is cheering. You learn what you believe when no one agrees. You learn how strong your discipline is when no one is watching. You learn how deep your commitment is when no one supports you. That is real character. That is real strength. That is real power. Accepting isolation without weakness is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming solid. It is not about closing your heart. It is about strengthening your mind. It is not about rejecting people. It is about choosing yourself. It is about knowing that your future deserves your loyalty more than your past deserves your comfort. There will be days when the silence feels heavy, nights when the doubt feels loud, moments when you wonder if it would be easier to go back to who you were. Growth means not to move tiny, but growth does not move backward. Strength does not retreat. Progress does not ask permission. You keep moving forward, not loudly, not proudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Calm steps, clear focus, strong discipline, quiet confidence. When isolation becomes your training ground instead of your prison, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as alone and start seeing yourself as focused. You stop seeing yourself as rejected and start seeing yourself as chosen by your own future. You stop seeing yourself as abandoned and start seeing yourself as independent. You stop seeing silence as loss and start seeing it as space to grow. This is how you win when everyone is against you. You do not fight the world. You build yourself. You do not chase approval. You create value. You do not beg for support. You become strong enough to stand without it. You do not fear isolation, you master it. Because the strongest people are not built in crowds. They are built in quiet rooms, long nights, hard choices, and lonely roads. And when they finally rise, they do not need to explain how they survived. Their presence speaks for them. Their calm speaks for them, their results speak for them, their strength speaks for them. Isolation did not break them, it shaped them. Silence did not weaken them, it sharpened them. Opposition did not stop them, it focused them. And when the world finally looks back at them, it does not see someone who was defeated. It sees someone who learned how to stand alone without falling apart. Opposition has a strange power over the mind. When people stand against you, the first reaction is often anger, then fear, then confusion. The heart starts racing. Thoughts become loud, the body feels tense, the chest feels tight, the mind looks for a fight, an argument, a defense. That is how most people lose before they even begin. They waste energy reacting instead of building. They burn strength on noise instead of progress. They focus on the pressure instead of the path. This is where the difference between survival and dominance begins. Opposition can either drain you or sharpen you. It can either break your focus or become the very fuel that makes you unstoppable. Turning opposition into focus starts with control. Control of your emotions, control of your thoughts, control of your direction. When people attack you, doubt you, mock you, or isolate you, your mind wants to prove them wrong in loud ways. It wants validation, it wants revenge, it wants recognition, but noise does not build power. Calm focus does. The moment you stop reacting and start observing, something shifts. You stop taking things personally and start seeing patterns. You stop hearing insults and start hearing information. You stop seeing enemies and start seeing obstacles. And obstacles can be studied, planned around, and overcome. Pressure creates clarity if you allow it. When the world is against you, distractions fall away. Fake goals disappear. Empty desires lose meaning. What remains is what truly matters. Your future, your growth, your stability, your freedom, your purpose. Opposition strips life down to essentials. It shows you what is real and what is fake. It shows you what deserves your energy and what deserves your silence. This is where focus is born. Comfort, but from challenge. There is a deep mental shift that happens when you stop trying to be understood and start trying to be effective. You no longer care who agrees with you. You care who you are becoming. You no longer care who supports you. You care what you are building. You no longer care who doubts you. You care how disciplined you are. This is focus, clean focus, sharp focus, directional focus. The kind that does not scatter when pressure hits, the kind that does not break when resistance shows up. Opposition creates emotional noise, gossip, judgment, criticism, rejection, rumors, distance, silence. All of it tries to pull your attention outward. It tries to drag your mind into chaos. It tries to make you react instead of think. But real power comes when your attention moves inward, when you invest in your skills, when you strengthen your discipline, when you sharpen your mind, when you deepen your patience, when you build your structure, when you focus on what you can control, your habits, your effort, your consistency, your mindset, your actions. Focus is not intensity. It is direction. It is calm movement. It is steady progress. It is daily effort without drama. It is showing up even when no one is watching. It is improving quietly. It is learning silently. It is building without announcement. It is training without applause. This kind of focus is dangerous to opposition because it cannot be distracted. It cannot be manipulated. It cannot be emotionally hijacked. It cannot be easily shaken. When everyone is against you, you begin to see how powerful attention really is. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. If your attention is on enemies, your energy is wasted. If your attention is on fear, your energy weakens. If your attention is on anger, your energy burns out. But if your attention is on growth, your energy compounds. If your attention is on skill, your energy builds. If your attention is on discipline, your energy multiplies. If your attention is on progress, your energy creates momentum. This is how opposition becomes fuel instead of friction. Every doubt becomes motivation. Every rejection becomes discipline. Every insult becomes focus. Every loss becomes a lesson, not emotionally, not dramatically, but practically. You do not need rage. You need direction. You do not need revenge. You need results. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You need to prove consistency. There is a quiet satisfaction that comes from building while being underestimated. While people doubt you, you are learning. While people talk, you are training. While people judge, you are improving. While people assume, you are preparing. This creates a powerful internal drive, not driven by ego, but by purpose, not driven by anger, but by clarity, not driven by competition, but by commitment. Opposition also teaches emotional discipline. You learn how to sit with discomfort. You learn how to breathe through pressure. You learn how to slow your thoughts. You learn how to stay calm when your mind wants chaos. This emotional control becomes a weapon. You no longer make impulsive decisions. You no longer react in ways that hurt your future. You no longer speak from emotion. You speak from intention. You move from strategy, not focus, means choosing where your life goes, instead of letting circumstances decide for you. It means building a daily structure that supports your growth, waking up with intention, working with purpose, resting with discipline, learning with hunger, improving with patience. You create routines that protect your mind, habits that protect your energy, systems that protect your focus. This is how you build power quietly. When everyone is against you, the temptation is to isolate mentally, to shut down, to lose direction. But true focus does not disconnect you from purpose, it connects you deeper to it. You begin to understand what you want, not what others want for you. You begin to see your path, not their opinions. You begin to follow your vision, not their noise. This creates inner alignment, and inner alignment creates unstoppable momentum. There is a calm hunger that grows inside you, not desperation, not anxiety, not panic, a steady hunger to improve, to grow, to evolve, to rise, to become stronger mentally, emotionally, and practically. This hunger does not shout. It works, it does not beg, it builds, it does not complain, it adapts. Focus also protects your spirit. It keeps you from becoming bitter, it keeps you from becoming cruel. It keeps you from becoming cold. You do not need to harden your heart to become strong. You need to strengthen your mind. You do not need to hate people to rise above them. You need to outgrow them. You do not need to destroy your enemies. You need to outbuild them. When opposition becomes your focus, your life stops feeling chaotic. Even if the world is loud, your mind becomes quiet. Even if the pressure is heavy, your spirit becomes light. Even if the path is hard, your direction becomes clear. This inner clarity is rare. Most people live in confusion. Most people live in reaction. Most people live in emotional chaos. Focus separates you from that. It gives you control. It gives you stability. It gives you direction. This is how you turn being surrounded by resistance into a personal advantage. You stop seeing yourself as surrounded and start seeing yourself as centered. Everything around you may be chaos, but you become still in mind, still in purpose, still in direction, still in identity. Opposition does not have to be fought. It has to be used as pressure to grow, used as motivation to improve, used as discipline to sharpen focus, used as training for resilience, used as fuel for long-term success. When people stand against you, you do not shrink. You narrow your focus. You do not scatter your energy. You concentrate it. You do not react emotionally. You respond strategically. You do not rush. You build. You do not chase attention. You chase mastery. This is how focus becomes your power. Quiet, calm, controlled, consistent, directed, strong, not flashy, not loud, not dramatic, but unstoppable. And one day, without announcements, without speeches, without noise, the results begin to show. Growth becomes visible. Strength becomes obvious. Stability becomes clear. People who once doubted begin to watch. People who once ignored begin to notice. People who once opposed begin to respect. Not because you demanded it, but because your focus built something they cannot ignore. This is how opposition loses its power, not through confrontation, but through concentration. Not through reaction, but through direction. Not through noise, but through focus. Silence is not empty. It is full of control, full of intention, full of awareness. When everyone is against you, words become dangerous. Every sentence can be twisted. Every explanation can be used against you. Every emotion can become a weapon in someone else's hand. This is why silence becomes strategy. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of weakness, but the silence of discipline and intelligence. Strategic silence is not about hiding. It is about choosing when to speak and when not to. It is about understanding that not every thought needs a voice, and not every plan needs an audience. People often talk too much when they feel pressure. They explain themselves, they defend themselves. They try to control the story, they try to fix their image, they try to change opinions. But noise does not protect you, it exposes you, it shows your emotions, it shows your fears, it shows your uncertainty. Silence protects your inner world, it keeps your plans safe, it keeps your direction hidden. It keeps your next mover. When others do not know what you are thinking, they cannot predict what you are building. Strategic silence is power because it removes you from the emotional battlefield. It keeps you from reacting impulsively. It keeps you from saying things that damage your future. It keeps you from giving information to people who do not deserve access to your mind. When you stop talking, you start observing. You see who speaks from insecurity. You see who speaks from ego. You see who speaks from fear. You see who speaks from control. You begin to understand people better, not through their words, but through their behavior. Silence gives you space to think clearly. When the world is loud, your mind becomes confused. When the noise stops, clarity appears. You begin to think long-term instead of short-term. You begin to plan instead of panic. You begin to move with intention instead of impulse. This is how strategic minds are formed, not through constant talking, but through constant thinking. There is a deep calm that comes from not needing to prove yourself. You stop explaining your choices. You stop justifying your direction. You stop defending your decisions. You stop arguing with opinions. You stop correcting misunderstandings. You stop chasing validation. You move quietly, and that quiet becomes your strength. People expect reactions. They expect responses. They expect emotional reactions. Silence confuses them. Calm unsettles them. Control intimidates them. Strategic silence also protects your energy. Every argument costs energy. Every explanation drains focus. Every defense steals attention. When you stay silent, you save that energy for building, for learning, for training, for improving, for planning, for growing. Your life becomes productive instead of reactive, constructive instead of chaotic, directional instead of emotional. Moving in silence means your actions speak louder than your words ever could. People may doubt what you say, but they cannot deny what you do. Progress cannot be argued with. Results cannot be debated. Growth does not need explanation. Success does not need justification. Silence allows your work to become your voice. There is also safety in silence. When people are against you, information becomes currency. The less people know, the less they can use. The less they understand, the less they can interfere. The less they see, the less they can sabotage. Privacy becomes protection, not secrecy from fear, but discretion from wisdom. You choose who knows what, you choose who sees what, you choose who hears what. This control gives you stability. Strategic silence also builds emotional strength. You learn how to sit with discomfort. You learn how to hold your emotions without spilling them. You learn how to process pain without projecting it. You learn how to manage anger without expressing it destructively. You learn how to carry pressure without breaking. This inner control becomes a form of power. You are no longer ruled by your feelings. You are guided by your value. Silence changes how people perceive you, not as weak, not as passive, but as unpredictable. Calm, focused, controlled. People cannot read you easily. They cannot manipulate you easily. They cannot provoke you easily. This creates psychological distance, and distance creates safety. Moving in silence does not mean isolation from growth. It means isolation from distraction. You still learn, you still build, you still connect, but you do it intentionally. You choose quality over quantity. You choose depth over noise. You choose meaning over attention. There is also a deeper level of silence, inner silence, the quieting of negative self-talk, the calming of mental chaos, the slowing of anxious thoughts, the release of constant worry. This internal silence creates clarity. And clarity creates power. You become more present, more aware, more grounded, more stable. Your decisions become better. Your actions become sharper. Your direction becomes clearer. Strategic silence gives you control over your image without trying to control opinions. You stop managing perceptions and start building reality. You stop shaping stories and start shaping your future. You stop chasing respect and start becoming respectable through discipline and consistency. People who talk too much often reveal their plans before they are ready. People who move in silence protect their timing. Timing is power. Acting too early exposes you. Acting too late costs you. Silence helps you wait, helps you observe, helps you choose the right moment. Helps you move when the conditions are right. Silence also teaches patience, real patience, not passive waiting, but active preparation. You are not idle, you are building. You are learning, you are preparing, you are strengthening, you are sharpening, you are positioning yourself. All without noise. When everyone is against you, silence becomes your shield. It keeps you from emotional traps. It keeps you from public battles. It keeps you from unnecessary conflict. It keeps you from distractions that drain your future. You become unreachable to chaos. Moving in strategic silence also changes your relationship with fear. You stop fearing judgment. You stop fearing misunderstanding. You stop fearing rejection. You stop fearing isolation. You become comfortable with being unseen, and being unseen is powerful. It gives you freedom to grow without pressure, to fail without shame, to learn without exposure, to rebuild without attention. There is a strength in being unknown, a safety in being underestimated, a freedom in being overlooked. People do not compete with what they do not see. People do not attack what they do not understand. People do not block what they do not notice. Silence keeps you invisible while you grow stronger. This is not hiding, this is positioning, this is patience, this is intelligence. This is long-term thinking. You are not disappearing, you are preparing. Strategic silence also builds self-trust. You stop needing outside voices to guide you. You stop needing opinions to decide. You stop needing approval to move. You start trusting your judgment, your instincts, your discipline, your vision, your direction. This creates inner authority. You become your own anchor, your own leader, your own guide, your own support system. When chaos comes, you stay calm. When pressure rises, you stay steady. When conflict appears, you stay focused. And when the time comes to speak, your words carry weight. Because you are not constantly talking. When you move, your actions are noticed, because you are not constantly moving for attention. When you show results, they matter, because they were built in silence. This is how strategic silence wins. Not through absence, but through presence. Not through hiding, but through preparing. Not through fear, but through control. Not through weakness, but through discipline. When everyone is against you, silence becomes your ally. It protects your mind. It protects your plans. Protects your energy. It protects your future. You move quietly. You build steadily. You grow consistently. You prepare patiently. And one day the silence breaks not with words, but with results. Not with noise, but with impact. Not with explanation, but with presence. Not with defense, but with dominance. Because true power does not announce itself. It arrives. There comes a point when the noise no longer matters. The faces no longer matter. The opinions no longer matter. The resistance no longer matters, not because the world becomes kind, but because you become unshakable. You stop living in reaction. You stop moving in fear. You stop thinking in limits. You stop measuring your life by other people's approval. You start measuring it by your growth, your discipline, your focus, and your direction. You walk forward without needing applause. You build without needing recognition. You rise without needing permission. You stand without needing support, not because you are alone, but because you are solid. The world may never clap for your strength. It may never understand your silence. It may never see your discipline. It may never respect your patience, but it will feel your presence. It will notice your stability. It will see your results. It will recognize your power, and by the time they look back, you will not be looking for them. You will be too focused building a life that cannot be shaken.